Hi, Linda. Thank you so much for being here for the 22nd Happiness Happens month. So our comment, this is our first time to actually meet on Zoom. We did have talked on the phone. So our common friend Elizabeth said that you would be a great person to share a story about how your spiritual philosophy impacts your happiness.
Yes. And it does, it does impact my happiness in a positive way, I have to say. I am. And first of all, thank you so much for having me on here. It's just delightful. I love doing these kinds of things, and you're delightful. And I hope that anybody that's watching and listening gets something from it, because, you know, that's what life is all about, helping other people all the time, right? If you can help other people get what they need out of life, you'll always have what you need out of life. I truly believe that.
Exactly.
So from a spiritual standpoint, my belief is in divine order. I absolutely 100% believe in divine order. It's not even something I believe in anymore. It's just threaded in me internally that, you know, you can call it a rationalization if you wanted to, but it isn't even that anymore, because I trained myself to absolutely believe, or just live my life in the understanding that there is divine order. So I can't even say it's something I believe in, meaning like I won't believe in it at some point. It's not like that. It just is to me. Right. And not even to me, I know that divine order exists. And you sometimes people call it coincidence. Sometimes people, you know, will call it God, the universe. You can call it whatever you want. But it's, to me, divine order is, there is an order to everything in life. Everything happens in the perfect order that it's supposed to happen for you. Right. And that when you have that spirit of believing or understanding divine order and living through divine order, you don't ever think that things happen to you. You understand that they happen for you, right? And that there's something to be learned from it. And that is just the divineness of the universe that is putting that situation exactly when you need it to happen, whether it's hard or not, whether it's tragic or not.
So do you have like an example of when divine order has?
Well, it's funny, you know, you were talking about my friend Elizabeth, right? So I host baseball players in the summer in my home. I have for 20 years. I have a big house, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But every year I will host different kids, and every year something bigger than just hosting them comes out. So this year I host this young man, Cam, who's great. But it turns out his mother is exactly the kind of person that I needed to show up in my life at this time, in my career, in my personal life, in order to take me to the next level in what I do and what I'm born to do, what I'm supposed to do. And she showed up. So if I hadn't said yes to that, that would have never happened. And so that's just absolutely perfect. Another one is I was going through a really crappy divorce, and through it, I was writing for my own magazine. I was publishing a magazine. And when you get divorced, you know, sometimes you take a financial hit, and, you know, you have to recover from it. Well, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a television station, the producer had read an article I had written when I didn't want to write it. I remember laying in my bed feeling, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough money to buy lunch tomorrow for my kids. And then all of a sudden I had to get this article written. And it was that article that the producer read and asked if I would come on TV and talk about it. And I've been on television ever since that day. And it changed my life. I mean, it completely changed my life. So that is an example of divine order. And that is an example of not being in control of anything, but just going with the flow of life and looking for the blessings in it, right? That's another example.
I love that. One of the mentors I follow, she calls that the law of non-resistance.
Right.
And sometimes we seem to get stuck in that. So you transitioned perfectly, because my second question is, you help people successfully age. And so I'd like to just share a little bit about, how you're doing that to, help people be happier.
So that's a really great question. And I do a lot of public speaking. And that's one of the things that I end my talk on, is how to remain happy. Because the truth is, I always talk about healthy, wealthy, and wise, as cliche as that is in our society. The truth is, there's a direct correlation between really good health and really good wealth. And there's a direct correlation between having wealth and being healthy. But really what it is people who are happy. When you're happy, you're healthier. And when you're healthier, you tend to become wealthier. And so it all feeds into it. But at the center of happiness, especially when we get older, I find there's two things. The first one is, people have to live with an attitude of gratitude. Again, so cliche, but they call me the cliche queen. I love cliches. Living with an attitude of gratitude, being grateful for everything that happens in life. And here's the thing. It's easy to be grateful for the great things that happen. It's hard to be grateful for the things that are bad that happen. But people who are truly grateful, their prayer is, Lord, thank you. Please get me through this as fast as you possibly can. I know there's a lesson for me in it, but teach me the lesson really quickly so I do not have to go through this much longer. Right.
And I love that it connects to your divine order.
It really does. I mean, it all really truly connects. But living through with an attitude of gratitude, even in bad times, keep a gratitude journal, whatever.
And of course, grateful is a type of happiness, just like successful is a type of happiness. And nobody, even the happiest of happy, walks through without having what I call in my book, Practical Happiness zappers. They're going to show up. And they're, to test you, but they're going to, even the happiest of happy, they're going to kind of go down. Their happiness energy will drop depending on the circumstance. It's just.
That's true. But you know happy people when you meet them, because you want to be around them more. And people who are not happy, I call them repellents. You just want to get away. But the other thing that people who age successfully do is that they don't hold resentment. I had heard, I think Deepak Chopra said one time that holding resentment and being angry is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. It's silly, and it backfires on you every single time. So truly happy, healthy, and wealthy people successfully age by giving up resentment. And I know that for a lot of people, there are people that hold resentment for the kid that bullied them in third grade on the playground. But there's also people that were, sexually abused and raped, and, their husband was an alcoholic and beat them up. I mean, there's some serious stuff that happens to people. It's hard to let it go. But people say to me, well, I can't forgive him. That's like saying it's okay that he or she did that to me. I said, no, it's not saying that. It's saying that I am going to forgive you because I refuse to live in that prison anymore. It's robbing me of the joy and the happiness of my life. So I'm forgiving you for me, right? People don't understand that.
I was thinking chain, like when we don't forgive, and we need to give ourselves a little time to forgive depending on the situation. But if we don't forgive, it's just a chain that tethers us to the past.
Well, here's the thing. I'm holding up two fingers, but joy and resentment, they cannot exist. They don't coexist. It's impossible to take happiness and resentment and put it in the same person at the same time. If you are resentful or angry, you're not joyful or happy. You're not. It robs you of that. You might think you are, you might say you are, but you're not. And so it's very difficult for people to forgive and to stop resenting. But my experience is when they do learn how to do that, it's incredibly freeing. And then it allows for the happiness and the joy to come into your life, into that space that was being taken up by the resentment. So those are the two things that I've learned that older adults.
I love that, because I call those happiness they're part of happiness zappers. And my book talks about how to create a zap map, which is a zapper management action plan. Because when you don't manage those things that zap your happiness away. They manage you, whether you're conscious of it or not. It does manage that. So I love your take on that. So
100%.
Our final question,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm asking everybody who does this, is because the first principle in my book is happiness is personal. And we live in this very competitive happiness world, this happiness groupthink world. And sometimes we quit paying attention to our happiness is personals. Because so what's something that, you know, might not impact a spouse or a significant other, your family, your mother, your kids, your girlfriends, your best buds, that makes you personally happy, but it's unique to you, or not. Sometimes they share in that too. But what's one of those for you?
Well, so that's a really good, it's a great question. So for me, it's about sharing, right? So I'm a very high earner. I'm very successful. I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful for all of that. So I have an unlimited earning potential, but money means nothing to me unless I can share the things that I acquire with other people. So for instance, I might have the means to buy a really expensive vacation, but it won't mean anything to me unless I can take people with me that I really enjoy being around. And then, why would you do that? Why would you pay for that? I'm like, because I can, and because it brings me happiness and joy. Another example is my home. I have a 5-bedroom, very large home, and it's just me. And I have my sons come in and out from college. So I host baseball players every summer. I let them live here for free. And people say, you let strangers live in your house? I could never do that. And I say, this big house means nothing to me unless I can share it with people and bring joy to other people by them enjoying it as much as I do. So that's my answer. I share. I can't help it.
We would call that giving as one of the 31 types of happiness. You're a giver. And
yes.
So I love that. And thank you for giving me your time for this interview for Happiness Happens Month. We appreciate all the joy you're sharing.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Pamela, and hope to talk to you again. Thank you.